Welcome to Garth Spotlight, and now we're doing a late night version, and it's not our usually programmed schedule. Today we're going to actually talk about MMA. I know, right?
And boxing.
And boxing, yeah. So, you might have guessed, this late at nighttime, we just finished watching the McGregor and Mayweather fight, which surprisingly to me was actually a pretty good fight.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty late right now, so we're running on fumes. It's like, what do you got? I got almost 1:40 a.m. So it's pretty late. We're filming this now. We'll get it up soon, but we just finished it, and it was surprisingly entertaining. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed watching this fight.
And we're just going to quickly break down the two guys for people who don't know who it is and people who are just like, what's this all about?
Very brief background, then we can get into the fight.
So, you want me to start with McGregor?
Sure, go with McGregor. I'll do Mayweather.
McGregor started his whole hype train from the Aldo fight. He guessed it. He's a great talker. That's what he is. And I think he has the best shit talking in UFC, as far as I know. He has a mouth on him. And
They both do.
They both are mouths. And he knocked out Aldo in the first round in the fastest knockout time. He jumped the division after conquering one, went to the next one, and fought Nate Diaz, which was like a class above him. And Nate Diaz was well known. And he lost the first one. He came back. I don't know. He tied the second one, I believe. Or no, there isn't a second one. The second one was still waiting.
Either way, he's got a very illustrious history.
Yeah,
and he's one of the giants of UFC and MMA. He's the biggest draw, probably.
Yeah, and he's known for his movement. He has very different movement trainings, and he's very unusual as a fighter. You don't really get to see that much.
Yeah.
So, as you might have seen with his jabs, it's very different, right? This way he spaces himself out. So that's McGregor in a nutshell.
Mayweather is the biggest draw in boxing. He's known as Money, or Pretty Boy back in the old days. He is a great fighter. There's no denying his prowess and his greatness. He's very careful when he chooses opponents, I would say. He waited quite a while for Pacquiao. There was all that controversy with the steroids and the drug testing. I don't know how much of that was true, but he's known for that. With that being said, he's an incredible fighter, and he's very safety first. Now, the reason why I enjoyed this fight so much was Mayweather, who is known for waiting and dodging and kind of dancing around his opponent in a very snoozing kind of way, even though he is brilliant. He just isn't very exciting. And today, I found this to be a very exciting fight between the two of them. I thought they both kind of brought something explosive throughout the fight in general. And I thought McGregor started it off really well.
Oh, McGregor started off with a bang, and to last 10 rounds for a UFC fighter. A UFC fighter, they might have recapped it there too, but they last 5 minutes a round.
Five-minute rounds.
Yeah, and that's like when you get the championships, like that is a main event fight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're doing 3 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
So it's not like 15 minutes to 25 minutes is where they go full out.
Yeah.
And you might see that in the first few rounds. You could have seen his powers were live. He was in there. He was going in and out. But later in the rounds, his hands were drooping.
He tired. He fatigued. He started to get really tired. McGregor started the fight off wonderfully. He got some good jabs in. He's got a really nice reach, a 74-inch reach, I think. Yeah.
Counters in there.
He got a really nice left uppercut in. A left uppercut in at the beginning. Got Mayweather on the chin. It was a really good punch. I personally thought McGregor won the first 3 rounds. After round 4, it started to turn. He didn't start to land powerful punches, and Mayweather gradually started to take over. What I liked about Mayweather in this fight was he was aggressive. He moved forward. He wasn't really running and dancing around the whole fight. He was pushing forward, and it made for some interesting confrontations between the two of them.
It did, and that's where the quote McGregor said at the end, "I made a Mexican out of him."
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, because when you think of boxers like Julio Cesar Chavez, who stalked and followed and just moved, cornered you and boxed you in. I think that was what he was basically alluding to, right? Mexican fighters are warriors, and they push you, right?
Yeah, you can see like greats that follow after. Cotto was like amazing at doing that. Pacquiao was good at cornering.
Manny Pacquiao, not Mexican fighters, but equally really
good fighters.
Yeah.
No. They take from the Mexican style, right?
Yeah,
and it's like it's nice to see McGregor fight his ass off like that.
Oh yeah.
With a style that is like unseen. There is no boxing style that like rivals that.
Emphasis on that.
Yeah, and then
the hammer punches.
Yeah, he did get some dirty blows in there.
Hammer punches in there.
And I'm surprised he didn't get a point off for that.
He didn't. The ref was pretty cool about that. He did kind of keep saying, lay off, stop with the punches.
I think the ref even knew he wasn't going to last the full round because he let him get away with a lot.
I thought Mayweather was baiting him a little bit. This isn't taking away from Mayweather's performance. He was great in this. But it just, he did do a little bit of the ducking his head, turning around. I think he was trying to get McGregor to use his MMA instincts. And that was, if Mayweather was trying to do that, then that was pretty clever.
Oh, yeah. It's like, that was one of the moves where I thought it was a very tricky, it's a tricky scenario because if I was an MMA fighter, I would try to toss him because that's the opening, right? So from McGregor for not kicking, that's a big deal. From not tossing to not grappling. Like, I seen him underhook when he clinched. I'm like, oh my God, he's like ready for an MMA fight.
It looked like he wanted to toss him a couple of times,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say that's a big credit right there. You take someone from MMA, you put him in a first debut fight for boxing alone, and he survives 10 rounds. He doesn't throw the guy. He doesn't kick him.
No, he looked, so McGregor had the first 3 rounds, I thought, really well done. Mayweather slowly picked up momentum. He led with that straight right, unbelievably. Mayweather's really good at that. That's one of his strongest aggressive tactics, I think. But with that being said, I can't really say anything bad about McGregor's heart. Like, he just kept fighting, and he didn't go down. It was a referee stoppage.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. I would like to, that last hit, I am on the same page as McGregor.
Yeah.
Let the man hit the floor.
Yeah, that's what he said at the end. He's like, just let me hit the floor. Let me go down, swinging. Fair, but at the same time, you don't want to see his career in jeopardy. He's still young. He's still a hot draw.
Yeah,
people love watching him play.
See, my thing is, like, when you go for these fights, you're expected to fall and hit the ground at least. Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those things where if he was in danger, the referee would have just...
Yeah. The fight fan in me wanted to see him continue to go. The human being in me wanted the ref to understood what the ref did. Yeah, but I did want to see him continue to fight because even though I knew he wasn't going to win, you could tell he was giving it his all, and I have nothing but respect for that. That was a great display by McGregor of heart. But I mean, he was on thin legs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mayweather did a great job actually fighting as a real boxer, like getting in there, getting in his face.
Oh, yeah.
And after all the stuff he said, he actually did back it up at the end, right? He didn't end the rounds as short as he thought, but it didn't go the distance, which I kind of wish it did because I would have liked to see that. But at the same time, McGregor's last fight was the biggest disappointment, right? And I guess
McGregor's or Mayweather's?
Mayweather. Sorry,
yeah. Was that the Pacquiao fight?
That was a Pacquiao fight. Yeah. The last fight was a Pacquiao fight.
Yeah, that was a big disappointment.
And the thing is, like, if he fought like this at the Pacquiao fight, it would have been a great fight.
Who, Mayweather?
Mayweather and Pacquiao. If he fought
it was like this, yeah. Oh yeah, but Pacquiao is a boxer.
Yeah, and
McGregor's not, and Mayweather could have taken some liberties with that.
My question is, does it take someone who's not a boxer for Mayweather to be this like aggressive?
I mean, Mayweather can be aggressive and exciting, but he is a safety first fighter. He's a defensive wizard, and he still showed that, I think, tonight. But he also showed his aggressive style, and that came out nicely. Honestly, I mean, I Mayweather's a great fighter, but he is not very exciting. No. And tonight he was. Tonight he was a very exciting fighter to watch.
Both of them were very exciting to watch. Mayweather's footwork actually stood out this time around because I was watching his footwork. He was very closed up, but he was leading them on the right way, putting McGregor in situations in the right way.
Oh yeah.
And
he's backing him up a lot towards in round 5 on. He was backing him up a lot, and again, those straight rights, those were some serious bombs.
Oh yeah.
It was a good display.
It was. McGregor caught one of those straights and put him into a grapple, and when I saw that, I thought he was going for like an armbar or something along those lines, because it was one of those scenarios where we're just like, that's not what you do in boxing, right?
Yeah.
And there was the overhand head.
The overhand head, the bat behind the head. There's a couple of those. I think that was just by accident. But the hammer punches were a big problem.
And the clinches that go to his back, to hitting his body, to hitting his head, that wasn't... You're not really allowed to do that in boxing. That's kind of dirty.
It looked very choppy in a boxing fight. It was not traditional in any way. His punches didn't look like, like a boxer's punches to me look like pistons. He looked like he was trying to he looked like he was trying to do like boulder punches or something like that. Like just hammer upon him.
Yeah, and the thing is, McGregor, he's a full kit. He has the kicking, he has the grappling, and he's got the punching. You take two of his kits out. I was very curious to see how he would land those power hits.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to see that this time around.
There wasn't a lot of fire in those punches, especially after round 3. I think he was having a lot of trouble getting a lot of oomph behind it because he's fighting in a different style. He's still a fighting master, but this is a whole new different ball game. And that was one of the reasons why I wasn't so excited for this fight. I thought it was mainly a money grab. Because McGregor's first professional fight was against Mayweather, of all people, like the greatest in the game right now.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just going to be a big money grab. Seeing them trash talk throughout was just like, this is going to be the most exciting aspect of the fight. I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, and I'm glad it changed a different way. My biggest issue was $100 for a pay-per-view ticket. That was one.
Very expensive.
They went to, 3 press conferences along the way?
It was a lot of hype. It was
yeah. And then...
they're showmen. They know how to market themselves. They're both brands within themselves. Mayweather and McGregor are not just athletes; they're icons, and they know how to bring that to the public.
Which is actually very interesting. Boxing is kind of in that situation. Since the Manny Pacquiao fight, I stopped paying attention to boxing.
Yeah, I haven't watched too many boxing fights recently.
That was my biggest disappointment, like I said before, and that didn't give credit to boxing, right? And UFC right now is having this situation where all these champions that they have don't have anyone to fight with, or they don't have big cards from the underground coming up. There's no more McGregor's coming up and so forth that it's really draw that icon, right?
The fight game's weird now.
Yeah, so they're both drying up, and maybe this was one of their ways of getting back to the community and saying, look,
I miss the classics though. I miss the Holyfields and the Lennox Lewises fighting anybody. Yeah. I miss fighters like that because they would fight anybody. The Mayweather Pacquiao fight should have happened years ago. Yeah. It happened way too late.
Yeah.
I wish I kind of long for when I was growing up watching Holyfield and Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson and even George Foreman. I miss those days. Yeah. When you had guys who would kind of just fight anybody, but now it is very much the fighters are as much of a commodity as they are an athlete.
There's also Brock Lesnar, Anderson Silva. There's Nate Diaz brothers.
You can tell who the boxing and the MMA fan is, right?
All those guys play on. Mighty Mouse is there too. And the thing is, these are two great systems that we watch, right? And coming together like this was a great joy.
It was. I didn't think it would be, and it surprisingly was.
And with that to say, that's all we have.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Glad we caught it. Glad we got to watch it.
Well, the last 2 things I gotta say is, if you thought this fight was entertaining or was it boring, what did you think of the fight? Leave your comments below. And subscribe.
Yeah, let us know what you think. And please like or subscribe, guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, you can check out the next video here. If you're in a daring mood, you can select a random video here.
Welcome to Garth's Spotlight, and now we're doing a late night version, and it's not our usually programmed schedule. Today we're gonna actually talk about MMA. I know, right?
And boxing.
And boxing, yeah. So you might have guessed, this late at nighttime, we just finished watching the McGregor and Mayweather fight, which surprisingly has very different movement trainings, and he's very unusual as a fighter. You don't really get to see that much.
Yeah.
So as you might have seen with his jabs, it's very different, right? This way he spaces himself out. So that's McGregor in a nutshell.
Mayweather is the biggest draw in boxing. He's known as money, or pretty boy back in the old days. He is a great fighter. There's no denying his prowess and his greatness.
He jumped a division after conquering one, went to the next one, and fought Nate Diaz, which was a class above him. And Nate Diaz was well known. And he lost the first one. He came back. I don't know. He tied the second one, I believe. Or Or no, there isn't a second one. The second one we're still waiting on.
Either way, he's got a very illustrious history.
Yeah.
And he's one of the giants of UFC and MMA. He's the biggest draw, probably.
Yeah, and he's known for his movement.
Brief background, then we can get into the fight.
So, you want me to start with McGregor?
Sure, go with McGregor. I'll do Mayweather.
McGregor started his whole hype train from the Aldo fight. He guessed it. He's a great talker. That's what he is. And I think he has the best shit talking in UFC, as far as I know. He has a mouth on him. And
They both do.
They both are mouths. And he knocked out Aldo in the first round in the fastest knockout time. To me, it was actually a pretty good fight.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty late right now, so we're running on fumes. It's like, what do you got? I got almost 1:40 a.m. So it's pretty late. We're filming this now. We'll get it up soon, but we just finished it, and it was surprisingly entertaining. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed watching this fight.
And we're just gonna quickly break down the two guys for people who don't know who it is and people who are just like, what's this all about?
Very